Very good evening to all present in today's live interaction session. This is the first session for the ongoing NPTEL course on Introduction to Aircraft Design. These are the agenda points for today's interaction session. I will first talk about the exam registration and the last date for it. I'll then talk about the internship program offered by NPTEL. Some of you may not be aware of that. There were a few questions in response to the announcements that we had given, so that those questions will be taken up. I'll give you an idea about the discussion forum and then open the floor for any feedback, suggestion, complaints, and any further queries. As we go, I would like you to hold on to your questions till I finish my presentation. And then when I end my presentation, I would like you to start asking any questions that you may have in the live group. I have your course TA monitoring the questions on the YouTube live, but I'll not be able to address them a lot in between the presentation. So when I finish my presentation, then we will open the floor for questions from you in the live session. The last date for exam registration, which was earlier given as 15th of August, has been amended. Okay. Now the new date is 22nd of August. So from 15th August, it has been delayed to 22nd August. So you have another 2 days to register for the examination. But important point from my side is, what are the benefits of registering for the examination? Why I would urge all of you to register for the examination? Mainly because, see, the real test of your learning of this course happens only when you submit all the assignments and get evaluated at the end of the course. Just by watching the videos, you do not really learn much. It's almost like watching a movie. You watch a movie and after few days, few weeks, you forget the main theme. If I ask you to tell me about the movie after 1 year, you might not even be able to remember anything. Okay. The assignments that you do during the course, you get about a week's time to answer the assignments. They are all based on the videos that you see mostly. So you can always go back to the videos, back and forth, and answer the assignments. So yes, they are in a way assessing whether you have watched the videos carefully, whether you have understood the videos. But there are no time pressures in assignment. You have a leisurely period available for you to do it. So therefore, the test of your learning doesn't take place in submitting the assignments during the course. It's only during the end of the course when you appear in the examination that you can have a real test of your learning. Also, many students write to us saying that, oh, we have done a course on aircraft design. We have an exposure to aircraft design. When we ask them about the course certificate, they say, no, but we did not register for the examination, so we don't have a certificate. Please remember, the NPTEL course certificate is the only proof of proper exposure to the subject. So many students think that just by watching the videos or even doing the assignments without any registration, it is good enough for us to claim that we have exposure to the course, but there is absolutely no proof of that. Okay. Under the new education policy of the Government of India, many institutes have taken advantage and provided credit waivers to students. So in my institute, for example, students can take up to 2 courses from NPTEL and seek exemptions from elective courses of the institute. So they save, they can claim 6 credits for each course. So they do 2 courses less compared to what their colleagues are doing. This is varying from institute to institute and university to university. I know some universities who allow 1 course or 2 courses every semester in the second, third, and the fourth year. So it varies. Okay, so please take advantage of that. If your university subscribes to this particular scheme, take advantage of that and seek waivers. The whole purpose of NPTEL is to provide you an exposure to the teaching and learning processes that is followed at IITs. Unfortunately, not everyone can get into an IIT because the seats are limited and the applicants are far more. So the government decided, why not provide the teaching experience or the learning experience to students who are not in IITs. For that, they approached professors in IITs and IIMs, and we have volunteered to provide access to our courses to you. Okay, so take advantage of that and get an exposure. Also, a very important thing is that if you do well in the course, actually you will be eligible for paid internships or internships with stipend from NPTEL itself under the same professor whose course you have done very well. There is a category called as Elite Gold category where the total score is 90 or higher. All students who are in that category at the end of the examination are eligible for the NPTEL internship. However, NPTEL approaches the faculty members to ask how many internships are we willing to offer? Do we have any constraints? And depending on the faculty members' availability and convenience, the internships are offered. So it is not a guarantee that if you actually get 90 plus score, you will get internship, but you will become eligible. And most faculty members I know are very positive and supportive. They do offer internships, including me. I offer a lot of internships to the NPTEL students. So take advantage of internships. Oh, this I've already mentioned to you. Now, the NPTEL internship actually is a mechanism to work directly under the supervision of the concerned professor, both in an online mode as well as in the offline mode. And you get a decent stipend of 15,000 rupees a month or parts thereof. So there is no alternative to summer and winter internships of NPTEL. And I would strongly recommend that you should aim for getting internships. The internship ends with a certificate, which is something like this. And the good thing is that this certificate is also verifiable at the NPTEL website. So therefore, the moment you get this particular certificate, you can quote it to anybody and they can independently verify. This is to avoid a lot of fake certificates which might be floating. So it's a verifiable certificate. It is on the website and it can be of great use for you in future internships or even in job applications. Many students also say that they are able to get admission to good universities for higher studies or even scholarships based on several NPTEL courses that they do and also the internships that they do. So all of these count, and therefore I would urge you give a very serious thought to the registration for the examination. Okay, moving on now. There are a few questions from the announcements. I have tried to put them here one by one and we will try to answer them. R. Chadan Reddy has asked a question on whether it is possible to design a blended wing body in OpenVSP software. Definitely the answer is yes, Charan Reddy. OpenVSP is a very generic software. Almost any shape, almost any configuration that you have in mind can be handled by OpenVSP. Your teaching assistant, Namanuddin, has got a lot of expertise and experience in OpenVSP. If you need any help, you can definitely approach him through the discussion forum about which I will talk. Some of you already know about it. In fact, those who have asked questions, you must be knowing that there is a discussion forum where you can ask your queries throughout the course, which can be handled by the teaching assistant. And if the teaching assistant wants our assistance, they will consult us before they answer. So Namanuddin has a lot of experience. I also know that he has gone to various colleges and conducted workshops on OpenVSP software. So please approach him. Don't hesitate if you need any help regarding OpenVSP, and I'm sure he'll be very happy to help you out. So the answer to your question, Charan Reddy, is a very strong yes. Definitely it can design. But remember one thing, OpenVSP is not a design software. Okay. It is only a CAD software which allows you to represent your idea. It is a sketchpad. VSP stands for Vehicle Sketchpad. Open is basically it is open source, created in association with NASA and made available to us publicly. So OpenVSP cannot design. OpenVSP can only represent whatever you have already conceived or designed in a wireframe or a 3D CAD model. If there is an existing aircraft, you can, using its geometry, you can create a 3D model and then play with it. But OpenVSP is not just for CAD. You can use OpenVSP and its modules to try and estimate the drag coefficient of the body. You can also use the OpenVSP model. You can give it to other softwares like VSP Aero to do aerodynamic analysis and many, many more. So I would request you to spend some time going through the OpenVSP web page, and once again consult Naumanuddin for any help and guidance about OpenVSP, and you will not be disappointed. Next question is by Mahesh Kumar, who wants to know who in India approves fighter aircraft designs and what is the flow process involved in the approval. So I'm assuming that when you say fighter aircraft, you are basically meaning aircraft for the military, and these are approved and certified by an agency of the government of India called as the CEMILAC, Center for Military Aircraft Airworthiness. This agency is the counterpart of DGCA for military and defense aircraft. And not only the aircraft design, but also the process by which you will fabricate it, you will test it, and you will operate it. All of them are certified through various procedures by CEMILAC. So if you are interested to know more details, you can go to the website of CEMILAC, CEMILAC. I will request Namanuddin to type this in the chat window so that you can note it down. CEMILAC. That is the name, that is the short form of the agency called as the Center for Military Aircraft Airworthiness. Okay, so that is the agency which approves fighter aircraft designs, and they have their own procedure for approval. Moving ahead, we have few questions by Pushkin Meal. Pushkin Meal has also asked a few questions in the last session on Introduction to Aircraft Aerospace Engineering. So here are his questions. We'll take them one by one. He has questions on the strut-based wing. He wants to know, how does a strut-based wing transport help in reduction of noise and emission? Very straightforward. Noise and emissions are primarily created by the engine or the power plant. And depending on the power required by the engine, generally speaking, if the requirement of power is higher, if the thrust required is higher, then you will have higher noise and higher emissions. That is in general. Okay, so now the strut-based wing actually reduces the power requirement, and with that you have reduction in noise and emission. Now, if you ask me, how does a strut-based wing transport reduce the power requirement or the thrust required for various phases of flight? So I will say that the thrust required is equal to the drag. So now the main component of drag in the transport aircraft happens to be induced drag. And induced drag can be reduced by many ways. One of the common ways is to have larger wingspan. But larger wingspan generally leads to larger bending moments at the wing root and hence heavier wing. But if a strut-based concept is used, you are able to provide structural stability to even a very long span or large span wing. So you can provide much larger wingspans compared to a conventional structure in a strut-based wing because you are supporting the wing with a strut. So therefore, you are able to provide wings with longer or larger wingspan without compromising too much on the structural weight. Because of that, induced drag is reduced. Because of that, a major component of the drag is reduced. Because of that, the engine power requirements are reduced. And because of that, the noise and emissions are reduced. So it is not a direct correlation, but it is an indirect correlation. The next question that Pushkin has is, what shape can possibly be used to design a strut? So my answer is very simple. Strut is a body that provides structural support, but it has aerodynamic drag. And therefore, you need to shape it with a cross section like an aerofoil cross section or any other cross section that has low drag. Generally speaking, if you take the cross section of struts which are used in the aircraft, they are almost like an aerofoil cross section. Okay, so that is generally the shape used. But any shape that reduces the drag, basically the form drag or the drag because of the pressure, that particular shape would be suitable with lower frontal area. The next question by Pushkin is related to the problem of large wingspan. So he says that a strut-based wing generally has larger wingspan, but larger wingspan can cause problems in parking of the aircraft in hangars. How can we address this problem? Can folding of wings be a possible solution to it? So the answer to that is yes, definitely yes. And to explain to you this particular idea, which has already been implemented, I have taken the example of an aircraft called as the Boeing 777. So if you notice Boeing 777X, it has got a folding wingspan. The outermost 11 feet of wing on both sides can be folded. So when the wingtips are unfolded, the wingspan is 235 feet, but when it is folded, it reduces to 212 feet 8 inches. Okay. Now, this has not been done. There is no strut in Boeing 777 wing. But this is one example of what you suggested. Now, notice that the tip that folds in this particular aircraft, the tip is made up of ceramic of composites, whereas the basic wing is metallic in nature. So this is the mechanism used by Boeing to fold the wingtips. Primarily, they would like to reduce the wingtips so that storage is easier in the existing hangars. And also you will realize next semester we are going to launch a course on air transportation. In that course, we are going to cover the airline, airports, air traffic management, and the airline business operations. There, we are going to cover something called as classification of the airports or aerodromes based on various parameters. One of the parameters is the wingtip, and if the wingtip exceeds a particular value, you will the aircraft needs to operate from a larger category airport. So in case of Boeing B777, the reason why they have folded the wingtip is not necessarily because of only the hangar, but also because they would like to remain in the lower category of the airport. So this can be more elaborated in the course on introduction to air transportation in the next semester. I would urge all of you to consider registering for that course, which we hope to launch from January onwards. Now, because of restrictions on copyright, we are not able to directly show you YouTube videos, but I am sharing with you a link. This link contains a nice 4-minute video explaining the working and the reasons and the functioning of the folding wingtips of Boeing B777. So I would urge all of you to note down this particular link. You can take a picture of the screen right now. If it is possible, you can take a screenshot, or I will ask Noman to take a screenshot and perhaps share it in the group, or he can even type out the text of this particular YouTube. But look, if you just do a simple search on YouTube, folding wingtips of B777, you will get the link. There are 3 or 4 links. This is the one I found very interesting. It's about 4 minutes duration. So please do watch this especially Pushkin, who had a query regarding folding wingtips. And thank you, Pushkin, for asking such interesting questions, because that is what makes us also think and try and locate content. Unfortunately, the time available to us is very small, because when we were making the presentation, there were only two questions. But today, I came to know nearly at around 4 o'clock that there are few more questions. So fortunately, I was free today for some time, so I was able to incorporate the answers. But it may be difficult for us to provide answers to your questions which are given at the last minute. Then there are four questions by Shaurya Sharma. I'll take them one by one. Shaurya wants to know how he can create aircraft and contribute to our nation. Please suggest me the path which I follow. Not very easy, very difficult. No single individual can actually create an aircraft. Aircraft creation, which means design, development, fabrication, testing, and bringing in service, it is a team activity. Okay, so you can be a member of the team that develops or works on an aircraft. If you are fortunate, you will be able to get into any of the organizations in the country. There are now organizations in the private sector as well as in the public sector which are working on creating and developing new aircraft. So now I can tell you about how you can aim to get into the organizations. That is very interesting. So first of all, you will have to be very sure that you have the required knowledge and expertise, so that those people are very excited and interested to hire you. Therefore, you need to develop little bit of experience, and you have to learn the process of aircraft design. Already you have taken the first step of registering for an NPTEL course. There is one more course on the same subject offered by Professor A.K. Ghosh of IIT Kanpur. You may even consider doing that. And when I was a student of IIT Madras, we had a professor called E.G. Tulapurkara. I know that he also has recorded a course on NPTEL on the aircraft design, mainly focusing on commercial aircraft. So these resources are available to you to encourage to and to improve your knowledge about aircraft design. Apart from my course, which you are doing, there are these two other courses available on NPTEL. This is one way. Then there are competitions which are being conducted by us to promote and encourage aircraft design activities. One of such competitions is the National Aircraft Conceptual Design Competition, or NACDEC. I will request Namanuddin to type the website of this particular competition. So this is a yearly competition. Somewhere in the month of August or September, we release the problem statement for the next year, and we give you nearly 1 year's time to go through the entire design cycle. I was going to talk about this particular competition in the next interactive session, because by that time, the problem statement for the upcoming competition would be ready and released. So I do not want to talk too much about it. But just for your information, there is a website which Namanuddin will share. Have a look at the website and you will get to know what has happened in the past and what is going to happen in the future. The final round of this current year's competition, the 8th NACDAC, is going to happen this Saturday in Bengaluru. But the seats are very limited and they are only available with prior registration. So we are unable to right now share any details about them. However, please watch this website, and in the next session, we'll give you more information about how you can take part in the next edition of NACDEC. Shaurya says that unique design and concepts are not required. There are lots of examples, but if we don't think or create new aircraft, then how can India create its own aircraft and begin the aircraft revolution? So my point here is that innovation just for the sake of innovation is not really very much beneficial. If there is a solution which is working with the conventional approach or conventional configuration, there is no need to unnecessarily and forcibly bring in newer configurations, because tried and tested configurations work well. There is a wealth of knowledge and experience available about their performance and behavior. And remember that aircraft design activity is very much safety oriented. Any mistake or any error in your design or fabrication or maintenance or operation can lead to fatal consequences. We recently had a very, very sad situation of the plane crash at Ahmedabad airport just after takeoff. But that is only one of the examples. There are several of them which have taken place globally, and they keep happening despite so much of regulation, so much of focus on security, safety. Still, accidents do happen. So, therefore, aircraft design field, we prefer well tried and tested and conventional solutions if they are able to solve the problem. But if the problem or the requirements need innovation or change, we definitely don't stop you. In fact, so many innovations, so many improvements, so many new things have come in aviation because of the need for it. Okay. So there is a general feeling among students sometimes that a good design is a unique design. A good design is something that has never been done before. A good design is something that has features which are never available. I don't agree with that. A good design is the one that meets the requirements best and has inherent safety. It is something that uses resources effectively, and it can lead to the possibility of making that in large quantities. That is the hallmark of a good design. The primary requirement is safety in aviation. Okay. After that comes efficiency. So, what I want to clarify is I am not against innovation or new designs, but just for the heck of it is not welcome. It doesn't help. So, yes, India is developing newer and newer aircraft. We are looking at several projects in the pipeline, both in the military and in the civil side, where new concepts, new aircraft are being considered. In fact, this is such a beautiful time for you to be in this field because so much of innovation, so much of new work is happening in this field, which was not there when I was a fresh undergraduate student or studying. There were not so many projects happening in the country. Today, there are so many aviation projects that are happening. The next question Shaurya has is an aerospace engineer required in DRDO? The question is definitely yes. In fact, there is a separate stream when DRDO recruits scientists for its intake. It's called as a scientist B interview or the ab initio scientist interview. They have a separate category for aerospace engineers. Of course, I think they allow mechanical, electrical engineers also to apply, but they bring out vacancies for which aerospace engineers are also eligible. And quite a large number of aerospace engineers actually end up working in DRDO. In fact, I had a very interesting situation when a large number of my MTech students in the first year, uh, they got a job in the DRDO and they went into DRDO, creating a lot of gaps in our MTech program. Okay. We lost around 12 engineers in during 1 year from our MTech program to DRDO. We are very happy for that because they will contribute to the country's development. We are not complaining. Our job is to train engineers, and if DRDO accepts people who are studying in IITs or not even passed out, we don't have any great issue with that. It's okay because they got these jobs based on the applications when they were undergraduate students. So the answer is a resounding yes. There are large number of aerospace engineers in DRDO, including my own classmates have joined DRDO after the BTech program and had a successful and distinguished career. Both of them have risen to the director's level in DRDO. So yes, there is a requirement for aerospace engineers in DRDO. The last question from Shaurya is about why Tejas and AMCA program is not able to build aircraft for Air Force. Therefore, now they are not successful. What's the reason behind this? According to me, the question is wrong. I don't think this is a correct question. I think this is a wrong question. Tejas has already been inducted in the Indian Air Force. Okay, AMCA program is still under development, so we cannot comment about it right now. It's in advanced stages of implementation. So the question itself is wrong, and therefore I don't think there is any need for answer. Okay, now what we can do is we can slowly look at the questions that you have asked. Okay, so Charan and Rishi, they would like to know, can I use OpenVSP software for viewing the internal frames of aircraft design? I'm sorry. Internal frames, see, as I said, it is not a software for structure. Okay. So you can, as Naman has already answered online, you can create the structure and then you can look at it internally by making the skin transparent. But OpenVSP is not meant for aircraft design to ask for that. Okay, next is why strut-based wing is not used by commercial airlines, or why none of the aircraft manufacturers are not manufacturing. So Charan and Rishi, remember, I mentioned a few minutes ago, the aerospace industry is very much driven by convention and what has worked in the past. Strut-based wing is a new concept. It is a concept which has been under investigation, and now I'm happy to share that there is a project in Boeing to come up with the strut-based wing configuration. Okay. So in aerospace engineering, because so much money is invested, because so much lives are at stake, people do not necessarily, you know, embrace total innovative designs immediately. They go step by step. So definitely it is going to come in the near future when there is sufficient confidence in the minds of the aircraft manufacturers that the benefits of strut-based wings are more than its drawbacks. Please notice that there are some drawbacks also. For how many marks is the assignment taken for? Well, every assignment has got the same number of marks. I think they are 10 marks for every assignment every week. Okay. And out of 12 assignments, best 8 will be considered for the final evaluation. So if you get 2 or 3 questions wrong, or if you miss 1 or 2 assignments, don't worry. As long as you have got 8 assignments good, you will be aware. Now, these kind of information can be obtained through the discussion forum, about which I would like to speak to you now. Discussion forum is a forum where you reach out to the course TA and through the course TA to the faculty about topics, about areas where you need little bit more reinforcement, about queries which you want to ask beyond what has been discussed in the lectures. So you can ask questions, you can share your queries, you can get to know more about this subject. But unless you take active part in discussion forum, we will not be able to help you, because we have not reached a stage of evolution where we can read your mind, and based on our reading of your mind, we will start answering questions. We need to be prompted. We need to be told. Just like today, there are many questions which have been asked in the discussion in the YouTube live. There have been questions which have been asked, but there are very few compared to the number of students who have registered for this particular course. The questions that have been asked are very, very few. Okay, let's look at a question from Sarah. For students in institutes which do not provide institutional access to design softwares, how can they get student access given the softwares are generally expensive? Can NPTEL provide access? Okay, this is a very good question. But remember one thing, that for almost every software which is commercially available today, there are open source equivalents of that. There is a strong movement of open source softwares. Uh, so, for example, you hear a lot about a software called Fluent, which is used. ANSYS Fluent is used for a lot of CFD analysis, etc. There is an equivalent, in fact, in many ways, much better software called as OpenFOAM, which is available online. Okay, so no one can type the name of the software. OpenFOAM is a software which can be used by you for almost all kinds of aerodynamic analysis. OpenFOAM has a very strong user community. If you have any queries, they will try to help you out. They may not have a detailed user manual because it's not a commercial software. But I have been told by my students and researchers that almost any question regarding OpenFOAM is answered when you put your question in the forum or talk to other experts. MATLAB. MATLAB is a commercial software, but there is an open source software equivalent to MATLAB called as Scilab. SCILAB, Scilab. So instead of going for a pirated version of MATLAB, instead of okay, so the institute that you are in, they may even buy the license of MATLAB. But what happens when you pass out? What happens when you graduate? Okay, so you can use Scilab. Now, there is one software associated to MATLAB, which many people use for simulations. Okay, there is an equivalent software called as XCOS. So please search. There are statistical softwares called as R square. Okay. There are other CFD softwares available in open source. So please search. I'm sure even for structural analysis, you might be able to get some softwares in the open source. So it's a good idea as a student to develop the habit of using open source software so that you are not bound by the constraints of having your own license. Okay. At the same time, if you really want to work in a particular area, especially if you become a professional, then you have to invest in the software. There is no way to bypass it. Okay, right. Are there any other questions which we need to address? The forum is still open. We have some time available, but my earnest request to you is that discussion forum is also a way for us to get a feedback on how the course is going. So the more you ask queries, the more you participate in the discussion forum, the better is the feedback for us to improve, modify, bring in more content. For example, what to do in this interaction session. It can be communicated in the discussion forum. If it is possible, we will do it. For example, today, if somebody had already mentioned in the discussion forum or in the query that can you please touch about this subject more, or can you explain about this topic more, I would have come with some prepared slides on that. Okay, but there were only about 6 or 7 questions, and those questions we could able to incorporate, and we have reached only about 37 minutes of the 1 hour session, and after this I really don't know. So we also have a request that you should please give us feedback and suggestions. Okay. Charan and Rishi are concerned about the exam pattern on NPTEL. Don't worry. Exam pattern will be explained in the third session because that will be just before the examination and it will be more relevant that time. But your question is it enough? Is it enough to watch the videos taught by the professor, or should we refer to any materials, etc. for exam? So while it is very much possible to answer bulk of the examination by watching the videos carefully and by doing the assignments that are there, however, we do recommend that you should go for additional learning from the standard textbooks which we have recommended as part of the course, because many ideas, many concepts we will not be able to cover in the recordings. So those are explained. So the book by Daniel Raymer uh, is one of the very popular books. There is a book by Nikolai and Karikner. Of course, these are a bit expensive books. Okay, but you might be able to get a copy of these books. Okay. Now, Sarah has a question about, is it possible for the course offering institute, that is IITs, to have, say, a 2-week program for course participants for practical exposure too? Okay. So definitely, there is now a scheme called as NPTEL Plus. Naman has already pointed out. In NPTEL Plus, we can conduct some special workshops, special sessions on topics in which you are interested. For example, suppose you would like to have a detailed workshop on the use of OpenVSP software. We could conduct a session. Or if you would like to have any other topic you are interested in, if you would like to have a workshop, if you want us to do a very detailed workshop even on things like constraint analysis, we can do that. There is not a problem. Okay, so it is possible, but through the discussion forum, you should give us suggestions and feedbacks, and then we will go ahead. There is a question about material selection plays an important role for aircraft design. Definitely, yes, because it's the material properties that are going to affect how much load and how much stress the structure can handle. They play a major role. So therefore, in aerospace engineering, materials is very important. Uh, Sarah says that there are international summer universities in Europe or the US where students get access to the labs and they can see how work is done. That is also possible. That is also possible here. We also have summer internship programs. We also have other programs in our institute. So, for example, currently there is a program announced by IIT Bombay called as the IRCC Research Internship, which is open to students who are in the pre-final year, and they can come and spend between 4 months to 6 months to work on specific projects, and they will get a stipend for that also. So every university, IIT Kanpur has a program, IIT Kharagpur, IIT Madras, they all have a program like this. You have to look at their websites and you have to approach the professors. Now, all professors may not be able to offer internships or short-term exposures. It is up to them and their availability. For those who don't get gold certificate or those who can't score marks 90 plus, what is the situation of that candidate? Okay, now these candidates can also come for internship, but then it is at the uh, completely, it will probably be unpaid because we do not have funds available with us to pay for interns. Okay, so there is a possibility of students who may not have got access to the NPTEL internship, either because they don't have the marks or because they had the marks, but the professor was not offering internships because the professor might be busy that time. Okay, we also have our own plans during winter and summer, and sometimes we are not available. For example, during this summer, I received more than 100 requests for internship right from January onwards. But I was myself not in IIT Bombay during this summer. I was away at some other university, and I came back only by the end of June. So I could not offer internships to anybody during this summer. Normally in my lab, there are a few summer interns every year, but we could not do it this year. Now, that doesn't mean that, but of course, I must tell you, I still offered internship under the NPTEL scheme to a few interns. Okay. Um, so Rohit Bist has a question regarding CFD analysis. He says that I am doing aerofoil CFD analysis, but my CD0 from CFD is 0.0078, and from theory of wing reference, it says it is 0.006. He has used y plus equal to 1 and domain as per best practice. Now, look, I cannot comment on such specific questions. This is a question, see, the answer that you get in a CFD simulation is very much a function of boundary conditions, very much a function of what kind of flow properties we have given, what kind of turbulence model you have used, at what angle you are operating. Maybe this is at zero angle of attack. So, and you don't tell me about the numbers. You should have told me how much is the percentage error. As I notice, the percentage error is approximately, 18 in 10,000, right? If you take CDO is 0.006 and you are getting 0.0078, which means you are off by 18 in 10,000, isn't it? Now, 18 in 10,000 is not a very, very large percentage error. So I don't know what kind of accuracy do you expect? This may be a reasonably good number using a software, because remember that the textbook theory of wing section by Abbott, they are basically based on wind tunnel testing, and you are doing a CFD analysis. Okay, 5 to 10% error in, around 8 to 10% error in drag coefficient is very normal in CFD analysis. And your error is definitely below that. So why should you be bothered? Maharaj 2006. Okay. Is it possible to organize any aircraft manufacturing unit for us to understand assembly and manufacturing? Sorry, we cannot do that because we don't have the facility in our institute at least. You'll have to go for internship in an organization like HAL, which manufactures aircraft. So in an institute like IITs, we will not be able to do. Sanjana Pandey has a question. We can use carbon fiber for making fighter jet because carbon fibers are very light compared to aluminum and it has high strength. Definitely, so we use it. We are already using it. Aerospace engineers were the first people to use carbon fiber for the structure of the aircraft. Okay. I remember when I was working in HAL, at that time, way back in, I'm talking of what? I'm talking of 1988, 87, in HAL Nasik, there was a project done by one of my very senior professors in IIT Bombay called Professor Lakkad on converting the metallic air brake of MiG-21 into a composite air brake. And way back in 1988, Professor Lakkad actually designed and fabricated an air brake of MiG-21, a load carrying member, which was actually installed on the aircraft. So you are talking about 2025 right now, but in 1988, we had already developed a carbon fiber. I mean, it was a composite. There was a metallic central portion, and there was a carbon fiber There was a carbon fiber based structure around it. Okay, I cannot say that it is purely carbon fiber, but still it was a huge saving in the weight. And it was, I think, to the best of my knowledge, it was the first load carrying structure on a military aircraft that was designed using composites in the country and actually implemented. So, okay, Rohit Bist says that he wants a detailed OpenVST session. Fine. It depends on how many people approach us with this request. If there is a facility on the discussion forum to carry out a poll, we will find out when you want to do it, what kind of ideas you have in mind, and we can do a workshop using NPTEL Plus on that. No problem at all. It can be done. Okay, the floor is open. I don't have any more questions. I'm just opening it for queries, and I'll keep it open till the queries run out. We have around 14 minutes remaining. So if you have any queries, you can ask them. And it's up to you. Okay, looks like there are no more queries. Okay, one query has come. I was able to sketch the aircraft, blended wing body with dimensions, but me and team were unable to construct, fabricate aircraft as per detailed dimensions. Can you guide how to fabricate? Well, that's a very difficult question to answer. I cannot guide you to do any fabrication because it is completely different. First, you should do the design. Okay, Rohit, this has a question about NACDEC. In the NACDEC, can individual also participate? No, the answer is no. In NACDEC, the only participation is by teams of up to 5 students from the same institute. Will the certificates upon course completion be issued by IITB or NPTEL? No, not from IIT Bombay. You are doing a course under NPTEL. Samir Patel wants to know, can we know what is the significance of calculating the mean aerodynamic chord of a wing and how do we derive the formula? Well, deriving the formula is difficult in a live session like this, but the significance of MAC is that in an actual aircraft, the chord of the aircraft keeps changing in general, especially if you have taper. So there will be a root chord, there will be a tip chord. Now, if I want to replace this tapered wing or swept wing with taper with an equivalent rectangular wing, equivalent in the sense not geometrically equivalent, but aerodynamically equivalent. Equivalent so that we can get an idea about the forces and the moments acting on it. That is the concept of the mean aerodynamic chord. And there is a formula 1 plus lambda square upon something. All that formula can be used. Sanjana Pandey wants to comment that there is more research is required in carbon fibers so that we can use 100% Sanjana, and the floor is open to you. Usage of carbon fibers and composites in aircraft structures is an open field. And if you join the MTech program in aircraft structures in IIT Bombay or any other IIT or IISc, you have opportunities to work on design of carbon fiber structures. Rohit Bist says, there should be one open challenge for working professionals like us. Why limit the creativity to academic ones, please? The reason is that when we conduct a competition our aim in NACDEC, as I will explain in the next session, is to encourage design thinking among people who are still in college. Okay. If you are wanting to improve your design expertise and knowledge after passing out, the whole life is available to you, the whole world is open to you. You can have, and there are also other competitions you can take part, but we have decided, because we want to do it under the institutional framework, we want it to be under the mentorship of a professor in the institute. Normally we expect the professor to only do administrative work, But it is also possible that they will provide some mentorship and some guidance and suggestions to the students, although they are not supposed to, but many of them do provide. And we cannot control that. So our aim is to catch people young and to give them an exposure to how the whole design cycle normally is progressed, okay, from conception to the design. But there are many competitions, there are many events which are available, which are open to anybody. There are idea competitions. DRDO conducts an idea competition, which is open to anybody, open to individuals also. If you have an idea that can really make a difference to DRDO, meet some of its requirements, they will be happy to fund it. So yes, it is very much possible for you to utilize your spare time and your knowledge to take part in design related activities. Okay, 10 minutes or 9 minutes remaining. We are still here. In case you have anything to discuss or comment, please go ahead. Okay, looks like there are no more questions and queries. So it's time for us to say goodbye for the evening. And let us meet again after about around a month for the second session. Wish you all a very good evening. Bye.